I'm speaking on building trans-generational organizations. A generation, for the purpose of this discussion, could be called the time span between when a person is born and when they begin to have their own children. So, to make it easy, they say a generation is 30 years. All right. So, we'll be looking today at how to position our organizations transgenerationally, some of the most common mistakes we make in our businesses, and then how to build to last. And in case you're not able to write down all the thoughts on my slides, they will be on our website after the program, so you can download them tonight or anytime, just so you don't write too much and you listen and we interact. All right, I'll also be speaking about how to become the next CEO, because I see that we have business owners here. We also have potential successes. I'm going to share with you 10 things that can position you as the potential CEO of your company. If you want your CEO to appoint you as a successor, these 10 things, please take them very seriously, coming from me. And then I'm going to end with a few thoughts I want us to carry away. So these are the 5 themes I'll be building around. Let's start with transgenerational. So simply, when we say we are building transgenerational organizations, we are positioning or setting up our organizations to achieve sustained success across multiple generations. It would be great 30 years from now to have Imani Africa being far stronger than anything that Franklin ever conceived. It would be wonderful to walk into Zenith Bank 30 years from now, 50 years from now, and to find the bank all over the world doing things that the original big names that we know are doing. It would be nice to know some SMEs, companies that were set up 5 years ago, or that are the primary stages of their existence. It would be great to go to these same organizations 30 years from now and to see them as multinationals, being referred to with the same respect that we give other multinational organizations. It is possible and will require some effort. Let me say that for every entity, a business or corporate organization, a non-governmental organization, educational, religious, or whatever, whether you know it or not, you have positioned yourself either as local, regional, national, continental, global, or transgenerational. What do I mean? Local positioning is that kind of positioning that does not have impact beyond the town or local community within which you operate. It is evidenced sometimes by even the name we give our company or organization. And so, if you form a company and you call it Kwesimintim Local Community Store, the perception is that your scope of operation is within Kwesimintim and you are a local company. And so when you begin to grow and you get good, solid international deals with companies in Switzerland, and can you imagine doing an LC for a serious export order to Switzerland and you are doing Kwesimintim Local Community Store? Even the name cannot cross the border of Ghana. And so your name, your positioning, the kind of registration you do, and a few other things indicate where you are taking what you are doing. Regional thinking is those people who like to say, we those in the Western region. Those of us in the Brong-Ahafo region. Now, if your corporate communication tends to gravitate around your region, and most of the events, the things you do, the way you position even your newspaper, radio, and other communications tends to gravitate around regional issues, you are limiting yourself to your region without realizing it. And then some people are national, and that's it. And so you will find somebody who's doing very, very well in business, but doesn't even have a passport. I recall a situation that happened in our office a few years ago where we wanted to reward one of our hard-working managers with a trip to South Africa to attend a fair with us, an advertising fair with us. And we said to him, listen, next week you're going to South Africa. And we expected him to say, yay! He looked at me and he said, oh, I was wondering why the guy was not excited. So I asked him, is there a problem? Do you have an appointment next week? Is there something that... I don't have a passport. A passport is not an achievement. It's only proof of nationality. If you are a Ghanaian, you must have a passport. The fact that you don't have one means that all the prayers you are praying for God to expose you internationally, you are lying. The passport, you need it to travel. And so these are basic things that indicate our intent. Website. How have you positioned your organization to go beyond your country? And so beyond national, the next level is continental. And some people are very comfortable the moment they cross outside the continental space. You speak very well, you write very well, you do your business very well. The moment you are doing something in Europe, America, especially when you see people of different color, you start shivering and all of a sudden your talent disappears. Why? Why can't you cross over? Why can't you train in the UK and train in Ghana? Why not? And so the challenge is to go beyond local, beyond regional, beyond national, beyond continental to global. But even beyond global, there's a next level. So yes, your influence is felt all across the world and you die in 10 years, or your company lives for 10 years and that's it. No. The challenge is to ensure that you don't only go global, you also go transgenerational. And so your thinking must be about how your company, interiors, architecture, banking, landscaping, law, whatever, can outlive you, and several years after you've gone, your work will exist. So, let's talk about premature collapse. And so statistically, do companies live that long? The American Bureau of Labor Statistics says that less than 50% of small businesses live more than 4 years. I'm sure in Ghana the statistic will be even more interesting. Some numbers that we get from Register Journal suggest that 1 year, within 1 year, half of the companies that are registered just don't make it beyond the first 1 year. And I'm sure it will be a nice thing for Franklin Imani to research into. Longevity, the lifespan of the average small business in Ghana. And so, if businesses don't last for that long, if they don't last for more than one generation, if some of them even struggle to last beyond the first 5 years, what would it take? Why do they have only a statistical impact? When we were in school, there were people who were never in the school choir, they never won a prize, they never acted in the drama club, they didn't do anything of significance during the period when they were in school. So just before they left the school, it probably struck them that they were not even in the school magazine for any achievement, and so their only reference point was the fact that they were in the school. So somehow they had a habit across all schools of doing something very unique. They would take a marker and they would write on the wall. So you see, I didn't tell you, you all saw it. They would write on the wall, "I was here some." I don't know, they kind of rehearsed it, they knew exactly what to write. But the interesting point is this: in terms of accomplishment, in terms of achievement, the only reference point was, "I was here some." And that's the whole history of the person. Almost like Methuselah, 969 years, and his whole life story is written in 2 verses. He was born, he lived, he had children, and he died. May that not be your story. May your companies outlive you. May your books outlive you. May your thoughts outlive you. May something that you do in your lifetime live beyond you. It's my dream, my passion. That's why I write. That the things that we write would outlive us and feed the next generation and beyond. Why do companies fail to make it beyond those initial years? Surprisingly, as they say, the biggest enemy is within. The first enemy of companies is the founder. Tell somebody that's you. The first enemy of most companies is the builder who then becomes the destroyer. 3 ways in which builders destroy organizations. Number 1, the skill sets, mindset, attitude, posture that it takes to start a business is different from what it takes to grow the business. And so the typical entrepreneur is fascinated by starting things, excitement, launching things, but beyond some point, we can't be launching every day. We need to settle down, build structures, no longer personality-based, hey, but settle down, put in place systems that are not personality-based. And you will find that many first-generation founders struggle when you say, let's build a system outside you. They feel emotionally attached to their company. You want to take away my baby? Look, I sweated. Where were you? And very often, the person making the recommendation was not there when the company was founded. They say, where were you when it was founded? Who are you? And so, people build and unwittingly destroy. The other reason why they destroy is sometimes the realization that you have suffered, so you must reap. But the reaping is sometimes done prematurely. And beyond some point, now, decisions are not made based on the original mandate of the company. Mandates like profit, the mission, and so on are forgotten. And things like, listen, my friend so-and-so is going to this festival and is sponsoring this thing, we too, we must do it. Where does our mission come in? This person has bought this car, I must buy the same car. They've built an office complex, we must build it. Can we afford it? Does our cash flow support it? No. We must be there. Those are the things that the builder uses to destroy. The second is what I call 3D dinosaurs. And that is, I was talking to somebody from a huge multinational organization today. And she said, the challenge we are having is that our competitors are smaller, faster, and more responsive. I said, I know the feeling. Beautiful organization has been there for several years. It is multinational, but by the time a brand new idea travels from the person who brought the idea to the manager, to the regional, the director, all the way to the top, the small company has moved, implemented it, executed it, profited from it, and the idea is traveling through the bureaucracy. They call it 3D dinosaurs. We just sometimes cannot respond to opportunity. We are too big and too unresponsive. Even when clients complain, we say, listen, we are the we. But you will be impressed, and of course, not surprised to find out that in a smaller entity, the CEO can put his or her mobile phone number at the reception and say, if you don't like our service, call me personally. So they naturally will hold on to the clients, they will respond better. Listen, you say you want to cash pick up on Sunday, we will pick it up on Sunday. If you want us to follow you to this place, we will follow you. A big organization will say our rules and our regulations. So we sometimes fail to respond to opportunity. Number 3 is the diapers mentality. Now, if at the peak of my presentation, a 40-year-old man walked in with a very serious look, wearing Pampers, and came to sit next to you, what would happen? Who would you call, the police or the mental hospital? Sometimes we grow our organizations in age, but we don't grow them in systems and structures. We are now 5 years old, and we still walk into your company, and at the front desk, the receptionist is chewing a bone and cutting and say, hey. And the painful thing, the CEO can be around and see absolutely nothing wrong with the behavior of the person. The person can take a phone and insult the client, and the CEO sees nothing wrong. It happens. You go to visit the CEO, and the person is eating at the front desk. Okay, you'll be with you shortly. She'll be with you shortly. And he's still eating. So you expect that when the person you're going to see comes, you say, you can't do this here. Oh, I go say, how are you? Okay. And the person goes over to you and takes you in, and you are going in, you have a shock. But the person sees nothing wrong. That's a diapers mentality. Company has grown in age, but not in systems, structures, and the corporate mentality. The 4th one is a weak bench. It's called a one-man show. Companies that have one person who controls some core functions in the organization, and nobody is being groomed to help, support, assist, understudy, learn from that person is dangerous. That person could literally blackmail you, whitemail you, violet-mail you. So the day that person is in a bad mood, they decide they won't work, and the company grinds to a halt. And people like that are very territorial. You bring a new person to learn and they say they won't show you, they won't show the person the formula, they will keep it to themselves. No, don't put yourself in a position where one person can make or break your organization. It's too dangerous. Don't do it. Number 5, loss of focus. So beyond some point, now we are more concerned about how other people see us than the real results. In our part of the world, particularly in Ghana, if I may say so, we sometimes tend to see this quite a bit. You talk to business leaders and you are making a decision, you know it will hurt your company, but it will make you look good. It's not supported by your balance sheet. You can't afford it. The timing is not right, but somehow, sentimental reasons, it will be nice to have it. So we are more concerned about keeping up appearances. The business models keep shifting every time. We are in a very volatile global economy. Sometimes the things that you used to do, you see how America has literally unbundled this economy and shipped off half the economy to China shamelessly. In our part of the world, sometimes there is a need to redesign your business model. Some things you used to do, cut them off, hive them off, close down some departments, remodel your organization. But we are more concerned with what people will think, how it would look like, than the reality of what is required to stay afloat. When we begin to keep our appearances, we are living, but we are dead. The 6th one is probably one of the biggest threats that faced the early companies I was describing earlier in my presentation. Many of them died because very successful business leaders could not deal with the issue of succession as relates to the appointment of a successor and how to manage a family that all has interests in the business. Now let me establish one critical point here. Ownership is not the same as management. And in some situations, brutally honest, the solution is to let the family own the business but not manage it. You sometimes have children who have absolutely no interest in the entity or the company or the organization, but they can own all the shares but not manage it, and have professionals, people who understand the business, because it's competitive every day. So, hey, Solomon inherits a beautiful country from his father David. He grows it to the next level and assumes that it means that his son also can do the same. He has a very interesting son called Rehoboam who doesn't think far. So Rehoboam gets a chance to become king, and the first challenge he faces is that the whole country comes to him and says, listen, when your father was a king, he was building, so taxes were high and it was tough on us. So now that you have come, please make things a little sweet for us by reducing taxes, make us comfortable, and we will serve you all our lives. And it was a simple request. And he had 2 options. He first spoke to the elderly council of advisors who worked with his father, and they said, great idea. Make things cool for them. Make them comfortable with you. As time goes on, listen, give them more work to do, they will do it. They will respond to you as they become more comfortable. When he finished asking the elderly for advice, he swung to the younger guys, you guys who work with their trousers, and asked them, what do you think? They say, show them that you are in power. Let them know, let them feel it. It's almost like sometimes our situation in this part of the world. I'm telling you, in the political space, the younger class said, listen, ignore them. Tell them your taxes will be even higher than your father. Within one day, out of 12, you may call them 12 regions if you use our political system. Out of 12 regions, 10 left, and he was left with 2. This is the type of son who cannot inherit. He may be your firstborn, she may be your firstborn. They just don't have what it takes to maintain. Within 2 weeks, you have a problem. So family bonanza. The 7th one is the Lilliputian syndrome. Some people just can't think big. Many people have a very small mind. They just want something small. So even when the world is offering bigger opportunities, they tend to gravitate towards smaller ones. I met a very rich man one day and asked him, what is the biggest shock you've experienced? What is the most surprising experience you've had? He says, I met this woman who was very diligent, very hardworking. I wanted to help her and I asked her, what can I do for you? She says, I sell cement. He says, great show. I can literally underwrite your supply and offer you suppliers credit, deal with the company that supplies, and use my credit for you. So that, how long do you normally cycle your stock? She says, when I pick the goods, within 1 week, I've sold. He says, I'm giving you 1 month to sell and pay. And I'm giving you a credit line of 1,000 bucks. The woman looked at him and said, I'm 30. Her mind had not been conditioned to think about 1,000 bucks. Where will she store them? That size of order was just too, she couldn't even wrap her mind around it. She said, just give me 30. They call it the Lilliputian syndrome. She can't think beyond her immediate environment. Maybe her current stock size is 20 bucks. So if you make it 30, that's fine. And so I'm asking you, the fashion designer here, you worked so hard, you've prayed, you've come to Festival of Ideas, you walk out of here and you get an order from a Ghana Club 100 company. Your regular capacity is 50 outfits or uniforms a month. You get an order from a Ghana Club 100 company that says suppliers 2,000 uniforms within the next 2 months. Some of us here will write back to the company and say, sorry, I can't do it. It's like Mama 30. And so even before that order comes, begin to calculate. If I get that size of order, I will step back from production and go into delegation or outsourcing. Before I get that opportunity, I will form a network with 10 designers who sew like me or whose quality is close to mine. And then when I get that order, I will retain the design and create the model, the concept, and then outsource 200 each to these 10 companies and supervise and deliver, collect the money, pay them. I'm big. It's the kind of thinking that welcomes opportunity. Number 8 is the spirit of Esau. These are biblical illustrations but have corporate relevance. The spirit of Esau is a spirit that makes a decision based on present convenience with no recourse to future benefit. Esau says, give me something to eat right now and forget about legacy, forget about birthright, forget about everything. I just need something to eat now. And several times in running your organization, you will be forced to make that kind of decision. Do you look at the long term, or are you fascinated by short-term decisions with no long-term relevance? The 9th thing that kills companies is the lure of appearance. And so you will find that in many organizations, there are people who do very well when they see you around. How many people supervise people? You supervise people, either as a manager and owner. True or false? Some people, when they see you coming, they get busy, they are organizing people, they are sending people around. When you leave, if you have CCTV or some way of monitoring, you realize that they are talking, Facebooking, misbehaving. When they see you coming, they are so busy. And leaders sometimes get fascinated by people like that. And we believe that they are the genuine ones. Look behind appearance. Again, by virtue of my vocation, I'll give you a biblical illustration. So someone is sent to go and appoint a new king from Jesse's house. He gets there and he sees Eliab and says, look at the structure. Look at it. He looks good. He must be the one. He said, no. The real one is hiding somewhere at the backside of the desert, doing the work. There are talkers who do nothing. So don't let those people deceive you. You will see them in your organization. They talk plenty. They promise. The story about 2 sons. One promised that he would do the work and didn't do it. The other one said nothing and did the work. Find a way of seeing that one who does not talk but delivers. And the final one is no health checks. Just like how physically some of us never do medical checkup and just keep going till we fall. Sometimes companies too do the same thing. We never stop to look back and ask ourselves, are our finances in order? Is our marketing being done right? Are our appointments being done based on a certain system, or we meet people in town and say, oh, come and work for me? How do we appoint? How is our HR being run? How are we running our order management system? Do we have a system in place? Are we personality based? Health checks are simply pausing to look at yourself well enough to see whether you can do better. And it's very critical. So, having said that, let me give you 6 things each company can do in building a transgenerational organization. I call them fiscal, not because we have so many bankers here. And it's not fiscal policy. It's just an acronym to help you remember. 6 simple things that each company, each church, educational institution, probably even as an individual building a brand, you can think about that would help you position yourself transgenerationally. Number 1 is F, and F stands for foundation. Foundation. Now, the foundation determines the height. The substructure determines the superstructure. And so the kind of foundation that holds a 1-story cannot hold a skyscraper. If you went to real estate and you built a 1-story apartment and started renting it out and realized that the demand for accommodation is high, you can't add 4 floors on the foundation that was built to carry a 1-story. Architect, true or false? Talk some for me. True? Fantastic. And so the problem with many of us is that we build companies with 1-story foundations. And so when you start adding the floors, the center cannot hold. So things fall apart. At the point where you are building the foundation of your organization, don't think you would always be small. Don't be driven by your present circumstances to settle for anything and say, just give me anything. When you go to the Registrar General department, people come there to register companies, and the lawyers here will tell you, they don't even ask, what does it mean? Number of authorized shares. The number, they don't ask anything, just give me something. They meet somebody on the corridor and say, give me something. Do you want sole proprietorship, limited liability? Just do something. Do you have a company secretary? Oh, find some for me. So you have a company secretary on your documents and you don't know the person. That is building a very shaky foundation. And then when you start adding, you have a problem. Your stated capital is too low. Nobody takes you seriously. You're wondering why each bank is turning you down. But look there, you say stated capital, 3,000 cedis. But nobody explained it to you, and you are just going. So the foundation that is weak cannot build a skyscraper. I'm challenging everyone in this conference to imagine that you are building a skyscraper, a corporate skyscraper. What does it mean? I can imagine that if you were building some serious 20-story, it will go down for a while. So the person who starts building on the sand or building a shallow structure will look at you and wonder, why are you making so much fuss about these? All these details, are they that important? When you are going down, you look at it, wasting your time, and you come back and you are at the same level that you were at the point where you started. And you may look like you are the same as the other person, but you have built something that is invisible, but that has power to hold the growth. Everything you do must be guarded by what they call the 10-year rule. And that means 10 years from now, will you be proud of this decision? Some contracts will come, some opportunities to do some things will come, and you may do them because they will bring you quick money or it's a fast deal. But at the time when you are lifting up your head, some of those deals can come up and they can create very serious difficulties for you. Build a foundation that would last. Number 2, identity. Define what your company does and does not do. Mission statements are not inscriptions we put on our walls for fun. They are a clear indication of what we believe in, what we invest in, what we will do or not do in pursuit of our corporate life. And so it's important for us to clearly define what we don't support. Don't leave things to discretion. Don't tell them, do what is fair. Fairness is very relative. And so there's a particular bank in Ghana, you walk in and they say, thank you is the only acceptable way of appreciating our services. Let's not leave it to people to guess. They say, don't tip our tellers. We will punish both yourself or sanction both yourself and the teller. Clear. It makes everybody free. Our minds are clear. So what gets rewarded gets done. If in your company you reward people who do the wrong thing, you will produce more of them. If people who do the right thing get rewarded, you will see more of them. Talking about reward, I recall a particular instance where a group of students from KNUST came on internship at our place. And I, looking at them, thought one particular one was doing very well. And so one day at staff meeting, I singled out that person and commended the person for the work the person was doing. Only to find out later from the supervisors that that person was the laziest of the lot. I was embarrassed And I learned my lesson. So don't follow appearance. Don't reward the lazy ones and ignore the ones who are doing the right thing. The third one is Shiba. Shiba is simply a philosophy that says, let's be obsessed with the customer and making them happy. It doesn't come naturally. It's not automatic. The customer can only get the best deal from your company if you put in effort, lots of thought and investment into making things happen for them. And I guess I'm telling you that imagine walking into a hotel. Maybe you take 1 week off, husband and wife, you are tired, you worked so hard for 5 years, you want to chill a little. So your 10th wedding anniversary, or maybe it coincides with the wife's 40th birthday, and you don't want anyone around you, so you go to a hotel in some remote location. You check in quietly, you want to just relax and have fun. And the smart person at the front desk scans your passport, as is the custom of most hotels, and looks at date of birth and sees that the next day is your 40th birthday, calls the sales manager, talks to somebody, and the next day, a knock on your door and a birthday cake from the hotel. Or maybe you open your window, or you get a call from the front desk, open your window, and there's a hot air balloon around your room with the inscription on it, "Happy birthday, Rima." You say, oh, how did they know? Listen, it will touch you. And it doesn't always cost a lot of money to make the customer feel appreciated. But that's the secret of staying in business continually. Invest in making the customer feel that they matter to you. It can only happen if you get genuine feedback. And that means consistently measuring and maintaining service quality. We have feedback forms in your folders. We would expect to graciously fill them, and we'll study them, analyze the responses, and use that to improve the next conference. And so, talking about measuring service quality brings me to this restaurant chain, global restaurant chain, and the Australian branch of Subway was doing what they call the 1-foot burger. And that means that they produce burgers that are supposed to be 1 foot long, and you pay a premium price for them, and you hold them, and you know that, yes, today the mountain shall be leveled. Now, this interesting customer walks in and buys the 1-foot burger and pulls out a ruler and puts the ruler against the burger and measures and finds out that it is 11 inches. Now he confronts management, takes pictures, puts them on Facebook, and within a short time, 133,000 people put similar pictures on social media. One customer can destroy your business. One customer too can turn your fortunes around. So if the owners of the business are consistently measuring to see whether the burger is 1 foot, you will notice that maybe the thing is reducing by 1 millimeter a day. And you will notice it early enough to counter it before a whole inch goes off and it becomes a crisis. Now you will spend money trying to recover, you will do interviews in the media, but the cost of recovery is always higher than the cost of maintenance. The fourth key in our fiscal building transgenerational is capacity. And so obviously, the knowledge, the skills, the technologies that we use in running a small one-location entity cannot manage a 10-branch organization. So when you started, it was yourself and 2 people alone in a small office. Now you have branches all over the country. You have international offices. The software will have to change. The approach will have to change. Now you will need stronger people. And sometimes it's a challenge because the people that you started with feel that you feel a sense of loyalty to them, but they've also not grown themselves, and you are bringing new people and they are seeing them as strangers. And some of them are actually praying for the new people to go. Prayer. New person, away. It's either they kick them out spiritually or physically. If they won't go spiritually, physically they will make them uncomfortable for them to leave. But truthfully, for any organization to thrive beyond a certain point, it needs to renew itself. And that means retraining the existing staff. It means bringing in fresh blood, infusing people, shifting things, and it is a part of growth. The skills must change. The business leaders' knowledge must change. Investing in books, investing in training is non-negotiable. One authority in training says that for every dollar you put in training, you yield a minimum of $30 in return. It's not just an expense, it's an investment. So build capacity to enable you stay on top. The fifth one is awareness, sense of and awareness. And that means that you must be able to predict train is about to stop. In our natural lives, you know when the train hits your junction. If you take the train that passes through Circle, you know that it stops from Accra at 5:40. You are waiting. When the train stops for that 1 minute, you hop on. In corporate life, there are times when there are major shifts in business models, different ways of doing things, and sometimes we are totally unaware. And so we don't understand the timing, we don't see the shift taking place, and before we realize, we are left behind. Let me say this, that each business owner must make decisions based on the time that you are in, also in the growth of your organization. If you are sowing, I followed a friend during my national service. I followed a friend who was doing a beans farm to go and plant, and I almost died. You know, when people are planting, it's do and die. I mean, that's not a time when they do parties, they converse. No. He was planting, and it had rained the day before. He wanted to cover a number of acres. He was holding primitive technology, a sharp stick, and he would just plant the stick in the ground, remove it, put 3 little seeds of beans, and he was doing it, and he was accurately measuring 1 meter, and I was trying to follow him. That about national service boy. Look, my back, I was dying. Why? Because when a person is planting, that is their life. If you are planting your business, you shouldn't be concerned about what people will think about the car you drive. It will look as if you cannot afford it. It does not matter how it looks. There is a time to sow, a time to wait, and a time to reap. When it gets to the time to reap, you can buy every car you want, you can do everything you want, but till then, be patient. Accept that there is a time for everything in your corporate organization. So companies must appreciate the timings and the seasons of their lives, appreciate the peculiar opportunities that come up, and take full advantage of them. The final one in our list of 6 is legacy. And that talks about branding, that talks about reputation. Reputational equity is something that people don't place value on, but I believe that a good name is an asset. You cannot legislate a good name. You cannot demand a good name. A good name and trust are very valuable things that we must aim at having. And legacy is one thing that I want to throw out to every one of you here. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what will be said about yourself and your organization? I'll throw to you a question that we shared not too long ago with our teenagers conference called Teenpreneurship. Simple question. How do you hope to affect 1 million people in the next 5 years? Simple question. Initial response, impossible. Then it comes to unlikely. Then impractical. Then maybe possible. But as you think about it over and over and over, through a combination of social media, networks, ideas, creativity, and so on, you will find a way to let some product, idea, concept, something that you do, reach 1 million people. Tell somebody next to you it is possible. Or tell somebody else it is possible. Tell the person 1 million people. Between now and 2018. Wow. I can imagine that if all of us here did something that touched 1 million people. Young person there, how old are you? 12. And you are sitting with 40-year-olds. If you can do something that can touch 1 million people in your lifetime, it will be powerful, won't it? Dream about it tonight, okay? Right. Let me give you, in closing, 10 things that you need to know if you want to become how many want to become the next CEO of your company? Wonderful. This is the icing on the cake. So, 10 things if you want to become the next senior pastor, the next CEO, the next boss. It's just a framework for promotion. 10 things. And maybe for business owners also, these are 10 things that should guide you. Number 1, respect. Respect achievement. I find that very often when people are following, they tend to simplify the work of the founder. They think it is very easy. They say, oh, they tend to focus on one thing that is not working and forget about the pain of founding an organization. And so because you are not happy about leave allowance, you have forgotten the effort that a person put in to start the whole company. Anything you don't respect, you cannot attract. Anything you don't appreciate, you cannot inherit. So for anyone seeking to be considered as the head of an organization, it starts with appreciating, respecting the effort of the person that founded it. I'll tell you why it's important. Several times I've heard subordinates say, listen, they don't like my ideas. I'm leaving to go and start my own. And then you go, and after 10 years, you have not reached 1/4, 1/10, 1/20th of what you are criticizing. It is not as easy to do as it is to say. So let's start with respect. Respect means respectfully disagree, but still respect. Number 2, observe and imitate the work. Many times people want to imitate the car the leader is driving, the level of the lifestyle. No, that is not what you should imitate. Imitate the principle, the work. It is unacceptable to come to work later than your boss. I've seen organizations, the boss gets there at 7, and at 8:15, some national service person is creeping into the office. And somehow they assume the boss never sees. I don't know why they think. I told some people I was taking to an orientation that, you know, the boss knows every one of you. They say it's not possible. They assume that nobody knows them. Nobody notices the tardiness, the corners that they are cutting, the laziness. Look, leaders observe a lot and speak little. They walk through an office once and they know everybody's name. They know who is serious, who is not serious. Very often, give it to the leader. They know, but they don't talk. So, observe and imitate the work. Number 3, ask questions and seek help. It is better to ask questions and do the right thing than to assume and keep making mistakes. The fact that you are doing something consistently doesn't mean that you are doing it right. Ask questions. Ask for feedback. Ask somebody, is your boss happy with your work? She says, she hasn't told me anything. I say, you are staying down. There are leaders who don't complain until they are fed up. And the first reaction they give you may be your suspension or dismissal. So, ask. What prevents you from going to your boss with a folder and a pen and asking a question? Are you happy with my work? Are you happy with my attendance? Are you happy with my reports? Are you happy with this? Ask questions. You will get genuine feedback, especially when you are writing. Don't ask a question standing like this. Write when your boss is talking. They say when you write, you force the boss to talk sense. Right. Number 4. Anticipate and meet your boss's needs. Every real leader is encumbered by several things they are doing that they wish somebody would just lift off their shoulder. Most heads of organizations are overtasked with things that they think, by now I shouldn't be doing this, somebody else should be doing it, but you are doing it. And so the day you can say at 4 o'clock he or she wants their coffee, at 3, or they normally will collate these reports. So before they do it, you've done it and say, oh, I know you normally want these reports. Here you are, have it, and walk away. Don't even try to flaunt it, just give it and walk away. The more you do those things, the more your boss feels that you are available. You understand my needs, and they will give you a chance to do more and more and more, and then very soon, you are there. The 5th one is availability and flexibility. The real test of commitment is what is done outside the comfort zone, outside the working hours, outside the regular travel schedule, outside the usual things that everyone else does. The person who goes that extra mile, who's available. They say, oh, I'm committed. I will die with you. Trust me. You ask them today, they say, oh, today I have a funeral. Next week, oh, next week too, you see, my cousins, every day there's something, and yet you say, I'm committed. Commitment is spelled A-V-A-I-L-A-B-L-E. When you are committed, you are available. Number 6. Are we learning? Is it relevant? All right. Number 6, no showmanship. No showmanship. I challenge people wherever I do these kinds of seminars to focus on delivery and less on being seen. Do the right thing. Don't bother about whether somebody is seeing it or not. Just keep doing it. And time fails me to bring to you the reality of how, when you are doing your best and it looks like nobody's seeing, several people are noticing. And so I challenge you, even if nobody's commenting on the right thing you are doing, keep doing it. At the right time when it matters most, you will find that everyone knew you were doing your best, but nobody spoke. There is always the right time. Number 7, loyalty and faithfulness. It is easier to be disloyal than to be loyal. Conversations about authorities is always juicy. When your boss is being criticized, it is very juicy and you can get involved and enjoy it because people will combine half-truths, lies with truths, and unfortunate incidents, and it's a nice juicy blend. And you always can get in the mix and enjoy it. But you have an option also to step back and say, listen, it is easier to criticize than to build. I recall a young man walking up to me, and we talked about mentorship earlier. One of my mentees walking up to me and saying that the day he understood loyalty was when he went to Busy Internet and met a few people saying that those people, that Albert and Comfort Ocran people, they organize programs and get people's money and chop it and do nothing. And he says, he laughed and said, you guys, you are ignorant. He just said to himself, you guys are ignorant, and drove away. And as he was driving away, it struck him that, did you correct them? Have you not benefited from their work? Have they not done several things for you for free? Did you tell them? He says he felt he had betrayed us. So he was driving through the traffic towards Circle and praying that he would get to Circle early enough to turn back and go to Busy Internet. And he says he did. He got to Circle, turned around the Circle, drove back to Busy, and when he saw them, he was so happy. He went straight to them and said, you guys, you are lying. You know something? There's something you don't know. He took time and explained his side of the story to them. And he says when he finished, he felt happy, and he drove back into the traffic. Loyalty is making expensive choices no one will understand, but to you, they are worth it. The 8th point is learn quickly. Don't repeat mistakes. Be quick to hear. You hear something once. You may not even be the one they are speaking to, but you hear somebody being told something once, pick it, run with it. Hear something once. Once have you spoken, twice have I heard. Pick it once and you are gone. Some people, you correct them 10 times, they say sorry, then they make the same mistake again. Beyond some point, the boss will just move on and format you from the hard disk. Number 9, continuous improvement. Don't do the same thing over and over in the same way. Improve, improve, get better, improve, think about things, try out newer ways to do things, research and improve. And then finally, going back to where I began, I want to leave you with something I would like you to chew on. And it says, avoid the way of death. There are always convenient options that you can justify and argue about, but which ultimately will bring you down. You will always find people who can show you a way to beat the accounting system, beat the sales system, beat some system or another, and it looks attractive. It looks like, Charlie, that's a nice deal. It's called the way of death. It may look good in the short run, but in the long run, it will cost you. Let me say that for all of us in this conference, we are, by our presence here, confirming that we believe in values. Let's go the way of building to last. Tomorrow when you wake up, after listening to a presentation like this, you may feel that there is so much that you can do. There are some things you are not doing right, but in spite of them all, count your blessings. Somebody would wish they were like you. And for being here alone, you are blessed. Thank you, and God bless you.